Hi guys, it's Leanne and I am here today with my diverseathon wrap up. Oh, diverseathon. I am so glad that I was able to take part this year. I mean, I did a really crazy dance in a video for this readathon and I don't regret it. You see, I went into this readathon with a fairly solid TBR. I had a non-fiction, a fiction, a high fantasy, an urban fantasy, a graphic novel, and I kind of managed to do all of those categories still, but I didn't stick with the books that I picked. It's a long story. Let's get going. The very first thing that I ended up reading for diverseathon was not on my TBR, and it was a piece of feminist poetry. I read The Princess Saves Herself in this one by Amanda Lovelace, and I absolutely loved it. Although it's a very short, very concise collection, I felt as if Amanda Lovelace was able to touch parts of herself that she had never let herself see with perfect clarity before. She grasped a handful of those strings that we spend spinning away from ourselves in our lives until all of those problems and horrible moments can really only be seen dangling very far away in the distance, and she drew them closer and closer and closer, and it was so hard to read. I don't think I've ever read a poetry collection that so fully owns itself before. There is absolutely no fear or hesitation in ripping the scabs off of old wounds, but there is a very dark honesty there in that she is terrified to do it, but she's gonna do it anyway, and she's not just doing it for herself, she's doing it for you. I loved this. I think it pulled a layer of my skin off, but I would so strongly recommend this to anybody who is looking for something that's feminist and that isn't an essay. The next thing that I read for diverseathon was my original graphic novel pick, and that is The Best We Could Do by Tai Bui. By the time that you are viewing this video, the full review for this will be up, so I will leave the link below. Needless to say, I think you should read it. The next thing that I read for diverseathon was, as promised, my urban fantasy, and that was Bone Cross by Patricia Briggs. This is the fourth book in the Mercy Thompson series. I can't really tell you very much about this novel in depth because, of course, it is the fourth novel. However, I will say that the breadth of representation in this one is once again out of this world. There was actually a deaf child character in this one that I had no idea about when I started reading the novel, and the entire representation of sign language and his capabilities and his frustrations and his understanding of the world due to his disability and other people's understanding and undermining of him due to his disability was amazingly handled in this one. I'm really pleased with this series. I cannot tell you how happy I am that I am reading it. The next one that I read was again not in my original TBR, and it ended up being another graphic memoir. This is It's All Absolutely Fine by Ruby Elliott. If you've been kicking around the internet for a while, you've probably heard of Ruby Elliott in some capacity or other, or seen some of her scribbles kicking about in a few places. She is known as Ruby etc. on most of her social media, and this was a mental health, almost bipolar disorder, manic depression and eating disorder graphic memoir, and ouch. I have never read any piece of writing, be it fiction or non-fiction, which has so completely described my experience with mental illness. It's All Absolutely Fine talks about the things that other mental illness memoirs don't want to talk about. For example, how satisfying that self-sabotage can feel and how purposeful it can be, because you know you're going to fail eventually, so why not just make yourself fail and then prove everybody right and say, haha, look what I've done. It looks at the really ugly side of procrastination, which is almost wallowing in watching the seconds tick by, knowing that you're going to crap out on another really important deadline. She talks about the part of mental illness that kind of talks you into the idea that it's good for you. I was going to do just a review of this all on its own, but then I realised that actually that would probably be way too personal and way too deep for me right now, so here you have the mini review instead. The next thing that I read for diverseathon is still holding me fist-like in its grip. And that is The Good Immigrant, edited by Nikesh Shukla. And I'm not going to talk about it anymore in this wrap up because I'm going to do a full review of this one, and I also need some time to debrief with Kitty from Kitty G, who also loved it, and she has already reviewed it, so I am going to pop her review down below because I think she says everything that I wanted to say, pretty much. And now on to the books that I started but did not finish. I have started Luck in the Shadows by Lynn Llewellyn, which was my high fantasy choice. I am buddy reading this with the lovely Amanda from Amanda Centre. I will link her channel down below as always so that you can see her blissful wonderfulness. And I'm not going to talk too much about this one because I'm not that far in, and again, we're buddy reading it, so there'll probably be a joint review at some point in the future. So good. I also started They Can't Kill Us All, which is an account by Wesley Lowry, who is a journalist of the Black Lives Matter movement and how it got started very recently in the States and where it has gone. I'm going to talk about this one more in depth when I'm finished it because I both love it and have problems with it, so look out for that one. And I have also started and I'm smack bang in the middle of The Polygamous Daughter by Anna LeBaron. This is written by Leslie Wilson and it is basically exactly what it says on the tin. It's the account of one girl's childhood and early adulthood in the midst of a Mormonist cult. It's really interesting, but it's also, I'm gripped when I'm reading it, but I'm not gripped when I put it down, and I'm definitely again going to talk more about this one when I finish it because I'm enjoying it, but I have a few problems with it. That's everything that I read for Diverseathon. So by my count, that means the only one that I flat out didn't get to for Diverseathon is In Order to Live by Yeomani Parks. I hope that you guys had an awesome time and that you genuinely did find things that were enlightening for you and educational, and I will speak to you again very soon, hopefully about some of those books. Bye!